All right, welcome to this training section that's going to be talking about the advanced calendar option. So what we've gone ahead and done in a whole bunch of other training sections, we've already walked you through the traditional calendar options, right? So kind of the normal calendar options that you're going to be typically using 80 to 90% of the time. We've already gone ahead and walked you through those. However, in this training section, we're going to be talking about some of the advanced calendar options. Now, we will be quite frank with you. We talk about how this is a community-based program, and we are just sharing with you not only what we have experienced, but what we have learned from other people in the community, right? Because all of us as a community are helping each other get up the mountain, right? And so these trainings and these courses are really just the best practices that have been consolidated and learned from the entire community as a whole. And so what we are about to show you right now is some things and some settings that we ourselves have not even experimented or played around with. And so that is why we did not include them in the system or in the strategy yet, because we have yet to figure out exactly what the best way to use these are, right? And so this is the reason why the community is so valuable. But what we're going to do right now is we're just going to go ahead and plant the seed in your mind as to what are some of the other calendar features that are possible inside of ClientKit. So that way, at least you know that they're there. And then maybe as you're going through and running your business, you're like, oh, you know what? This would be the perfect thing that I needed for this, right? So let's go ahead and talk about that. If you are here under calendar settings, which again is under settings, calendars, you're going to see that we have over here calendars, but then there's also groups, service menu, rooms, and equipment. Now, let's go ahead and walk through some of these other advanced use cases, okay? So we got groups over here. Groups are kind of like folders to be able to go ahead and organize your calendars, but the other cool thing is that there is actually a group booking page that allows you to be able to see all of the calendars within that group. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean by this. Okay, so if I go ahead and create a group, and then I go ahead and say that this group, I'm going to go ahead and put it as test group for now. Okay, and then template. Okay, we're going to go ahead and call this NFW test group. Okay, again, just a random slug that I'm going ahead and putting. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Now from here, what I can do is you'll see that inside of the test group, I don't have any calendars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's just say I go into one of the calendars. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to the test group, hit save on that one. And then once that hits save, I am then going to go ahead and close this out. I am going to then put also this other calendar in that group because I want to show you what and how groups actually work, because there are some very beneficial use cases for groups that might be helpful for you. Okay, so you'll see on here, we now have two calendars that are inside of the group. And then what we can do is we can come over here and we can actually copy, let's say we copy the permanent link for the group, okay? I then go ahead and open this up into an incognito window. And what you'll see is that right over here, we have our group, and this is what is called the group booking page. And so now if you were to go ahead and send to a client or a customer or a prospect this page, they would then be able to select, hey, do I want to book a Bodyforge strategy session? Or do I want to book a NutriFit kickoff call, right? And so that is one of the use cases of how a group can actually be used is for the actual booking page. Okay, so again, what use do we have for this inside of the strategy that we recommend? Right now, we haven't really found an exact use case for this, but we're planting the seeds and unlocking the doors in your mind as to some of the other advanced features of the tool. So that way you can actually go ahead and utilize them if you need them in the future, okay? Next up you have over here is service menu. Now, what is a service menu? Service menu is basically where you can create service calendars, and you can actually create a service menu. So let's say, for example, somebody who's going to purchase services from you. Like, so imagine there is a salon or a barber, right? And what that does is it allows them for somebody to have a service menu where they can go ahead and say, okay, cool, I want to purchase this haircut, or I want to purchase hair extensions, or I want to purchase, haircut, barber, and beard, or, something like that. You can actually go ahead and use the service menu so that way people can purchase different services from you before they book their appointment. That is how that would work. And so you can actually go in and create a service menu, and then you can go ahead and go through all of the different settings for that. Now, again, we're just planting the seeds. We actually have never used service menu at the time of recording this training, so we don't know the specifics of it, but I'm sure there's going to be some amazing, super smart people who are in the community who are going to be able to contribute. And one of those people is probably going to be you. I'm sure you're going to maybe go in, and as you go ahead and, explore with the tool a little bit more, maybe you come across the need for a service menu, and then you can go ahead and use it there, right? Rooms over here is used when there is a certain businesses that have specific rooms. So let's say, for example, a room can represent any location where services are provided. So in simple terms, a room is a specific place in your business where you conduct services. So for example, a salon might have massage rooms, salon chairs, workout areas, pedicure stations. And so all of these are going to be different rooms that you then have to keep track of when somebody is booking appointments, so that way you don't have an overlap. So that way each and every single one of your salon chairs can actually have its own room, and then when somebody books, it's going to go ahead and actually make sure that there's no double booking of the same rooms that are going on there. Again, what is the use case that we know inside of the existing system and strategy? We don't know yet. However, down the road, if we do find best practices, or actually if the community finds best practices, we're then going to be able to go ahead and create perhaps trainings for that. But again, all of the most up-to-date ways to use the system and the strategy are going to be inside of the community. Last up here, we do have equipment. So equipment is going to be exactly what it sounds like. Is if you have equipment, right? Think of special tools or devices that a business uses in order to be able to run their services. So any fancy machine or even a simple chair, right? So for example, imagine like there's a hyperfacial machine that's used during a facial appointment, and you only have 3 of those. And you can only book calendar appointments to each of those machines. And so you need to be able to know, hey, when those 3 machines are booked up, don't let somebody book them at the same time slot. That is how you can actually keep track of different pieces of equipment inside of the actual calendar and scheduler. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the different tabs for the advanced settings for calendars. Next up, I do also want to go ahead and walk you through some of the different actual scheduling types that exist on here as well. So there is a service calendar. Now, service calendar is good when you're going to actually have clients pay directly for a service through a calendar, right? So it's very similar to, you have service calendars and then you got service menus, and those work together hand in hand. From there, next up, you are going to have a simple calendar. Okay. Now, this calendar over here, this is the basic option of a calendar. Now, in our opinion, we've always used round robin because of the fact that it allows you to be able to manage sync on the global level. Because the con of the simple calendar is that it requires for you to set up the central Google Calendar integration and syncing on a per calendar basis, which is actually quite bothersome and annoying. And so that's the reason why when we were putting together the system and the strategy, we said, you know what, it's much easier even for ourselves to do this on the global level. So that's the reason why we do not a lot of times use simple calendar. However, there might be some use cases that you decide, down the road you want to experiment with. Sure, no problem there, right? Round robin, this is going to be the one that we typically use most often, right? The one that we recommend the most often because it allows us to set up the central Google Calendar integration on the global level, which is very helpful. After that, we are then going to have class booking. Now, class booking is actually just a round robin calendar in which multiple people can book one appointment slot, but then they can actually go ahead and book in the same appointment slot, right? So imagine you're going to have a group session, or you're going to have a group class, or you're going to have something like that. Class booking is going to be extremely beneficial for that, and also does allow you to be able to charge for those appointments in class booking as well, right? And so of course, inside of ClientKit, they do have a description for that. This is contacts can schedule a meeting with a single person on your team. So that way there's multiple people who can go ahead and schedule with a single person. And then finally, you have over here is collective booking. This is going to be scheduling meetings with multiple team members. So let's say, for example, you have somebody who is a contractor or an employee who needs to meet with you and your business partner, or you and somebody else who is an employee in your company. That is what that can be used for when you want to have multiple people from your company meet with a single contact. Okay. Now, typically in our industry, we don't use a lot of this. However, we do, again, want to open those doors up and plant those seeds if there is ever a use case for you to be able to go ahead and use that. Now, as we close out this training, I do want to go ahead and remind you, like, hey, how and when am I going to use these advanced settings and all of this stuff that we just talked about? Well, guess what? We don't know. This is why we have a community, right? And this is why there is no guru on the mountain who has all the answers. This is all of us helping each other up the mountain. We are giving and asking, we are sharing. And so that way we're planting these seeds. So that way there's going to be some awesome, innovative students. There's going to be some business owners who say, hey, you know what? I'm going to play around with this feature, and this is going to be very handy for me to actually be able to go ahead and use. And then they're going to find some best practices. And then this is where I'm going to go ahead and make it very clear. You want to share those best practices as you are learning, right? You're documenting the journey as making posts inside of the community. So that way you're able to share, and then other people are going to do the same, and you're going to be able to learn from other people. Other people are going to be able to learn from you. And it is a symbiotic relationship in which you're all helping each other. It is going to be extremely, extremely important as we are all learning together. Because guess what? We're not the gurus in the mountains. We're just the people who go ahead and accumulate all the learnings that we see from the community. But at the end of the day, the learnings are going to come from you and what the other community members are going to actually go ahead and share. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is this training section on the advanced calendar options. Now you actually can go out and experiment and play around with them, or if you ever find any use cases for these, then you can go ahead and do that as well. With that being said, we will catch you on the next training.